Well, thank you and good afternoon. I am delighted to be here today diving into the issue of climate resilience finance. We all know that the need is great. The UN Environment Program has estimated that we need to see between $310 billion and $365 billion annually in climate adaptation and resilience finance in developing countries over the next decade. And we also know increasingly that the rewards and the returns are there. A new analysis from WRI estimates that every dollar invested in adaptation and resilience generates more than $10 in benefits over a decade, with returns coming in the form of avoided losses, enhanced economic gains such as higher crop yields, and of course broader social and environmental benefits like better health care. So for the experts on stage today, I'm really eager to dive into what is driving public and private sector investment in climate adaptation and resilience. And more fundamentally, I want to know, how do you make money doing this? Miki, Danny, why don't you start us off, Miki?
Yeah, great. Thank you very much, and appreciate being here today. One of the things that I thought was really fascinating was actually the discussion yesterday that Bloomberg CEO John Moore had mentioned in one of his slides. He said that in 2024, climate damage was estimated at around $1.4 trillion. Quite a significant amount, and I think it also brings about the need for urgency. It sort of says to us that it isn't so much anymore about mitigation, but that you also have to add into it resilience and adaptation. I think also kind of coupled with that on sort of this side of the equation is you have a lot of different mechanisms. Think about the carbon border adjustment mechanism. Think about a number of different mandates. We have a portfolio company here in Brazil that does wind that's helping, with the carbon border adjustment mechanism, helping, decarbonize aluminum production. But you have those kinds of challenges as well. And then, I guess, to another point that John Moore made, you also have, government and insurance companies. Are they going to be willing to pay all of this in perpetuity? And the answer is probably not. And then, on the other side of the equation, from the way that we look at it as investors, millions of people are actually using these services. They're using utilities, right? They count on the security of supply chain. So resilience becomes an opportunity to where it could actually be a competitive advantage if you have security of supply chain, if you can provide these services. And then also insurance companies now have risk models that can really price risk. And so from an investor perspective, you can start to really begin to think about KPIs that can drive some of those returns that you mentioned. And so when you put those together, you start to realize that, it actually makes good sense to invest in ports. It makes good sense to invest in roads. It makes good sense to invest in energy. And then when you put that together and you think about the opportunities in Brazil actually has a real, I think, opportunity to become a resilience and adaptation hub.
Danny, what about, from your perspective at HSBC, what's driving dollars into this space?
Well, I think it's, as Miki said, fundamentally, it's about the fact that there are enormous costs associated with the consequences of climate change, with severe weather events, with the activity needed to replace and repair infrastructure or corporate facilities in the event of damage. And so, when we talk to our clients, the overwhelming majority of our clients see climate transition as a growth opportunity across a whole range of areas. But the most important area is long-term resilience. Long-term resilience as a driver of competitiveness, but also long-term resilience as a way of protecting against future losses. I think that the kind of easy part is integrating resilience into capital expenditure when you're making it. You're building a new road or factory. How do you make sure that initiative that you wanted to do anyway is resilient to 50-year, 100-year challenges, where climate change is expected to be. I think the much harder part is, what are the models for initiatives that are purely designed to generate resilience for communities, for companies, and so on. And I think the financial models for those are a much earlier stage. But it is fundamentally an insurance proposition. So we had one client, as an example, who wanted to develop resilience as a theme, and they were able to work with their insurer to use the savings on insurance premiums to offset some of the capital cost, to the point where you had a kind of sustainability insurance product almost, which was enabling the kind of investment necessary to make that business more resilient. But those are individual cases, whereas in mitigation you see, I think, financial models well established for the scale-up of renewable energy, for investing in power grids, and other aspects. In this area, I think it's at an earlier stage, but it is that insurance component which I think is going to be critical to scaling up. You know, everybody knows that climate change is already having an effect on the natural environment, on the weather, on creating very severe damage in many locations. And so I think more and more attention will be paid to this space, because we have to protect ourselves against the consequences of the climate change that's already there, at the same time as continuing to invest in mitigation to limit it to the greatest extent possible in line with the Paris Agreement.
I think I'm going to want to come back to that notion of how you draw finance into these harder spaces where it is definitely emerging and the value proposition may not be immediately apparent. But I do want to ask, Ambroise, you are obviously at a different position at the EIB, which is, of course, the European Union's lending arm. What is driving public investment in resilience? And I guess I'm curious, too, how that is evolving.
Thank you very much. As you said, we are a public bank. So to what you said at the beginning, we are not driven by maximizing profit. We are driven by maximizing impact. And but that being said, I agree very much with what both of you have said. I remember pretty well, not that long ago, when talking about adaptation was difficult. Because, adaptation was the sign of a failure of mitigation, sort of. And what you see now is that, you see today at this Bloomberg event, this is becoming really a topic that has significant interest, and for reasons that we all know. So, and at the same time, it is clear that there is not enough money that has come to adaptation. So our experience is that there are two things that the public bank can do, and EIB does that, and we want to do that more. The first thing is to try, if I may say so, to put adaptation in everything we do. Because events that were sentinel before, they are becoming now every 5 years. So you need to do your infrastructure projects in a way that include this kind of events that will come. And the second thing is that we can do, that we develop, is trying to help those governments, especially in developing countries, or central banks, or financial institutions in these countries, to deal with adaptation. This is a program that we call Greening the Financial System, that helps them put in place the right methodology, the right climate risk assessment, so that they can have adaptation policies that will help them build the pipeline of adaptation projects. We have, at EIB, we have done a lot of projects in this kind. Let me just, maybe we can come back to that. Two categories of projects that I think of. One is water projects that have a high adaptation content. And actually, this is very important for us to support them, because also, there are some interlinkages between, for example, when you build some support to prevent the sea from rising in some place, it has big consequences on the population, on businesses. that's something that we need to help. And we've done that in Bangladesh. I've signed that last month. 10 million people will live in places that were flooded quite regularly before, and even more and more flooded actually, or projects like this. And we do also innovative projects. We have done a debt for swap operation, debt swap that was targeting in Barbados, targeting a wastewater plant that was built thanks to the fact that the debt swap operation allowed the government to alleviate a bit its fiscal burden. That is very interesting. It's difficult to put in place, but it's interesting. My final point is we have taken the commitment at EIB, and our board has decided that last month, to double our adaptation efforts by 2030. So it means 30 billion euros of investment between 26 and 2030. This is twice the amount we have done over the last 5 years.
Danny, HSBC, I know, has a partnership with Pollination, the Climate Asset Management Partnership, but you also have partnerships with the World Bank, where you're trying to actively de-risk private capital for sustainable finance and development. Can you talk a little bit about one project in particular, the Mombak project? It's a reforestation venture, and I'm curious too how that might show kind of a path forward for innovative finance and activity in this space.
So it builds on what Ambroise was saying about the importance of public and private sector working together in partnership to achieve some of these outcomes. So in this case, it was an outcome bond, World Bank outcome bond, backed also by carbon credits from a major IT company, which generated resources for Mombak to do reforestation activity in the Amazon, which is, of course, it's about resilience in the very broad global sense. It's also about resilience in a very local sense. And I think those kind of outcome bond structures have a lot of potential for developing revenue streams for resilience activities. We've seen, with other partners, other ideas coming forward, because it's a way of leveraging the capabilities of the World Bank, banks like HSBC, the interest in the market, in order to generate revenue that can really help to deliver very specific activities. So the challenge, I guess, with all these things, when they're at an early stage, is you have good one-off deals, really important, interesting, delivering beneficial activity. It's how do you scale them up? How do you make it into something that becomes much more kind of ubiquitous, that can be used in many situations? So look, I hope over the next period there'll be more such deals coming forward, and we can make that more standardized. It can then become something that can be used for these kind of resilience activities, but it also relates to the development of carbon credits, it relates to the development of carbon markets, and if those things can come together, then you do create mechanisms that potentially can scale financing for resilience activities. But it does also depend on the appetite of multilateral organizations like EIB, the World Bank. I was with the Multilateral Development Bank before joining HSBC, so I can see it from both sides. But I think that kind of partnership, which mobilizes the private sector, but which also releases resources to drive resilience activity, is part of the way forward in this space.
Miki, what about at Macquarie? How are you all, investing in this space, and in particular in Brazil?
Yeah, here in Brazil, we've been in Brazil now for 25 years, especially across the infrastructure, energy, and digital infrastructure space. If you look at our portfolio companies, I think they now employ over 15,500 people. For us, it's not just about really being an investor, operator, advisor. We really also do care about our communities. And the three businesses that we have here, our asset management arm, our commodities and global markets arm, and also our Macquarie Capital business, not only are we investing in the ports and the roads and other renewable opportunities and other sort of digital infrastructure opportunities, but we're also very keen to help grow the communities around also where we invest. And our Macquarie Foundation has also been very active here in Brazil as well. Instituto 4, for example, is an organization that we've been involved with, helping emerging leaders of color be able to gain leadership skills. It's not about the zip code that you live in, but it's about being able to give opportunities to everyone. And so that's why today we're actually very proud to be able to announce the Macquarie Community Resilience Prize. In conjunction with MIT Solve, we will be awarding $500,000 US dollars, up to $500,000 US dollars across 5 different awardees, solutions in climate resilience. This will go to Brazil headquartered solutions. It could be for-profit or non-profit, but really about finding the most creative technology-enabled solutions that are helping communities find ways to mitigate climate risk across energy, grid solutions, water resilience, agriculture, food security, supply chains. So press release will come out later with more details, but applications will be opening up at the end of November, and I hope everybody checks out the MIT Solve website, because we're really looking forward to supporting the innovative solutions that can make a difference here in the communities in Brazil.
That's fantastic news, and I'm sure you're going to have a lot of applications to really work through and exciting projects. I want to ask you actually about the exciting projects. One of my benefits or privileges as a reporter is getting to talk to real people about the work they're doing on the ground. And so I'm going to use a reporter's privilege and ask you, we're on stage, but what's happening on the ground as a result of your finance? Danny, is there, particular, at the risk of asking you about the one-off investment, is there a particular investment that you're really excited about, or is there a key focus area that makes you excited?
Yeah. I mean, there are lots, but I'm not going to give you a long list, but I can think of a few, recently that we've been working on that I think, to your point, right, it's about how do you support and drive change at a local level. So we have a program in India where, which is in partnership with UNEP, which is about helping female smallholder farmers in India to transition to more sustainable agricultural methods, which is a critical part of resilience. We've partnered with LEAF in the UK to work with farmers there, again with the same kind of purpose, to transition to more sustainable, regenerative agriculture. We supported Thai Union to do the first ever blue bond for the seafood industry in Thailand to transition to sustainable ways of producing shrimp for the market, which is critical for an industry which is a major one for that country, but a major one also for the region, to move to more sustainable ways of farming. So I think those are examples of things where you see a real impact. But I think the other area, and it links to, I think what you've just announced is fantastic, but we have to, driving innovation in this space is also really, really important. Mm-hmm. And we see that through our climate tech business. So HSBC Innovation Banking, we work with VC-funded climate tech startups to support them through their early phase, and then hopefully as the ideas generate into implementable solutions through the first-of-a-kind project finance. So, for example, this year we saw a company called Infinium in the US go to their first-of-a-kind project financing for sustainable aviation fuel. And so it's kind of building those relationships, identifying where are the gaps in the financial system to make that, because for a lot of companies that step from the early stage through to the first-of-a-kind project financing is a massive leap. And I think that's a problem we have to solve. And I think it's an area where, in the resilience space, especially, innovation moving to scale is really challenging. And I think financial institutions need to find ways to support that too, and that's what we're trying to do.
Ambroise, I know that for the EIB, Latin America is a particular focus for the portfolio. Are there projects that you'd like to highlight?
I could, but I will not, because I'm going to tease a bit.
Fair.
There are going to be several signatures events that on projects that we are financing, especially in Brazil, in Belém, in the next days. So I hope you'll hear more about that. And there are really great projects on, including on nature-based in the Amazon basin and women entrepreneurship. These kind of projects that are really the heart of what we believe in at EIB. The project I would mention is not in Latin America. It is in Jordan. We are developing a project together with a few partners that is taking seawater from the Red Sea. You make it desalination plant in Aqaba that works with solar panels, and you have a water pipeline that brings this water up to Amman and the region, where they are suffering from a severe drought. And that is a project that we are very proud of, because it gives water to people. And you know, if you don't have water, you can do whatever you do on mitigation, and you are not going to have life at all. So this is the kind of projects we are very, very proud to support.
Water is life, for sure. Miki, maybe it's a water project, maybe it's reforestation. What's an exciting one for you in the portfolio?
Yeah, I think there's some maybe more on the growth side of things. We have a technology company called Earth Resources Technology, which sort of leverages satellite technology to be able to do climate weather prediction, which helps let the government know where and when floods can happen, to be able to enable people to be able to relocate faster or be able to get emergency responses faster. They've also, I think, over the last decade saved probably, I think it's something like 50,000 lives for people who have gone hiking, and you haven't been able to find them, so they can use the satellites to be able to track people as well. But we also have some other interesting companies that have some operations here in Brazil. For example, like Onyx Insight, which is a UK company, but they have a predictive analytics system, so it's more adaptation and resilience adjacent. But what they're doing is they're helping the wind turbines cost a lot of money. When they burn and they crash and burn, that's a lot of money that is kind of falling to the ground. And so what they've been able to do is develop a really impressive predictive analytics system that allows the turbines to be able to extend their life, which I think is helpful to a lot of the wind turbine manufacturers out there, and just enables really the companies to be able to operate the wind turbines longer, which just helps that supply chain, security of supply chain, be more resilient across the board.
We're running short on time, but I did want to swing back to the kind of the challenge that Danny, you kind of identified at the beginning. It's easy to do the one-off project, but of course we need economies of scale. We need systems to support this. We're at the start of COP in just a few days. What do you see as the opportunity for, or how much does a multilateral commitment like those made at COP and policies, government policies, really help address that challenge? Do they?
They're fundamentally important, of course. Now you have to go from having the agreement to implementing it. That's also a challenge, but you saw the last COP Loss and Damage Fund, which is really about resilience for the for the most vulnerable countries in the world. So that's an example. But I think also, when you're looking at these questions of resilience, local regulation, local plans, what is the direction because I think there's a lot of uncertainty in this space. What are the financial models that are going to work? What are the revenue streams? How is climate-related risk being factored into your understanding of the risks affecting companies? That, if that's done properly, that can drive making these resilience initiatives much more financeable at scale. So there's a lot of work to be done in that space. I don't know what will come out of COP30 on that front, but I think it's really important work. But also multilateral institutions, development finance, the kind of blended finance ideas with the private sector, I think are also critical to deliver scale in adaptation and resilience.
And this is why we have decided to double the adaptation commitment to help have more of these projects, actually.
Thank you so much. We've run out of time, but I am so grateful for your participation. Please join me in thanking our panel.